Good morning. In the last class, we read the poem If I Were an Astronaut. I hope you were able to complete the reading comprehension questions. So let us start today's class with a fun fact. Do you know why the spacesuit are always white in color? Because white reflects heat in space the same as it does here on Earth. Sometimes up there in the Earth's orbit, the condition can be as cold as minus 250 degrees Fahrenheit. That is very cold. In the sunlight, they can be as hot as 250 degree Fahrenheit. That is around 49.5 degree Celsius. Still hot. So that's a fun fact. Now, getting into the class, you know what is a poem, right? A poem is a piece of writing in which words are chosen for their sound and the images they suggest, not just for their obvious meanings. This is what we learned in the last class. So, in poems, words are arranged in separate lines, usually with a repeated rhythms, and often the lines rhyme at the end. So, one way of creating the rhyme is using repetition. So, what is repetition? So, repetition refers to the use of the same words or phrase multiple times. And this is a fundamental poetic technique for creating a pattern through rhythm. To appreciate a poem, you need to know the elements of poetry. We have learned elements such as simile, metaphor, imagery, and alliteration. Alliteration is the topic that we covered in the last class. In this class, we'll be studying about repetition, which can be used to create rhythm or rhyming in a poem. In our poem, that is, If I Were an Astronaut, the poet repeats the first two lines at the end of the poem. Why do you think he did it? He did it because he wants to emphasize, means to make sure that it is important. So he says that so that we as a reader feels that it is important. So he tries to emphasize his wish that he or she wants to fulfill their desire of becoming an astronaut. So the poet has emphasized this line so that we as a reader consider it in a deeper way. Let us see an example for a repetition in a poem. I'll give you a stanza from a famous poem called Stopping by the Woods in the Snowy Evening, written by none other than Robert Lee Frost. The last stanza goes like this: The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. This is a very famous line from Robert Frost. And miles to go before I sleep. In this stanza, the poet has used the rhyming words you can see, such as deep, keep, and sleep at the end of the lines, thereby creating a rhythm. There are two metaphors in this stanza. Can you guess them? We have learned about metaphors in your previous classes. The first metaphor is miles to go, and the second is before I sleep. And miles to go here represents the life journey of the poet, and before I sleep represents the death. And the poet has used the repetition of the phrase and miles to go before I sleep to point out the urgency. That is the repetition here. See, we just appreciated a stanza from a poem. How cool is that? So appreciation is a way you can appreciate how the poem has been constructed. Now, let's get into the writing exercise. This is a diary entry exercise. Let me read out the question for you. All of us have dreams. Imagine that you have achieved what you secretly long for. Write a diary entry for the day you attained the goal you had set for yourself. So, they are given a sample diary entry where you can see the diary entry starts with the date and the time of the entry and the entry itself, which is the thought of the person who is writing the diary. So I want you to write a diary entry like this. Okay? Think about dreams that you have achieved or the dreams that you want to achieve. Okay? Just think about it and write as if you have achieved the dream or the things that you have really achieved. And once done, you can submit it along with your assignments. Now, getting into the second topic, that is the slideshow project. You have to find about spacesuits from the internet. Present the information in the form of a slideshow. You can search online and find out information about spacesuits. You can use slideshows, like you can use either your Microsoft PowerPoint program or OpenOffice PowerPoint program, or you can go for online PowerPoints. Okay? So you can use those PowerPoint programs and create a slideshow. And for that, you need some information about the spacesuits. They listed out 6 questions. These are just example questions. It's a way to teach you what questions that you should be asking. So you can ask any kind of questions that related to spacesuits. The one that I gave you, the fun fact, is also about the spacesuit, right? Last section, my word bank. You have to find 4 words related to pollution in the poem. If you go through the poem, you will be finding out those words. They're pretty simple, straightforward words. You can easily find them in the lines. Turning to page number 69, you have a reading comprehension. You know what is reading comprehension, right? It means understanding what is being read. So you read something and you understand what is being written. And you answer a few questions based on what you read, right? Now, I want you to use a timer in your mobile phone or tablet or in your personal computer and time how long did it take to read the entire passage. Submit the timing along with the answers to exercise. Let's read the passage. Follow your goals. Have you asked yourself the question, why should you have a goal in life? The answer is unless you set goals, you will not succeed in achieving anything, however hard you may work. You will go on aimlessly, and when you finally stop to take stock of what you have managed to achieve, you may find that it is not something you desired or wanted. The first step in setting a goal is identifying what you want for yourself and the means by which you can get it. To do this, you should assess your strengths and how you can use your potential. It is said that if you aim for the stars, you may reach the treetops. Don't be apprehensive about aiming for a goal, which may at first seem unreachable. Your goals will guide you to take longer leaps than you expected. Goals give you focus and the means by which your energy and time are channelized to get the maximum reward. I will tell you about a friend of mine who wanted to be an author. She worked with single-minded devotion to achieve her goal by acquiring the necessary qualifications, interacting with people who mattered, studying the works of great authors, and today she is an author of many books. She faced many hurdles which she overcame. Obstacles, said Henry Ford, a businessman and the founder of the Ford Motor Company, are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off your goal. You should, however, remember that goals you set for yourselves are achievable. If you are unable to fulfill your goal in spite of striving hard, you may feel downcast and miserable. It may result in your reluctance to set any goals in the future. So, it is advisable to assess yourself and decide on a goal that can be achieved through perseverance and determination. So that's a passage. It's a passage about following our goals. So when you read a passage and you have the questions to answer, you have to write the answers according to the passage. It's not from our thought or it's not from our point of view. You have to answer the questions from the passage. For example, first one in section A, why should you set a goal for yourself? Where do you find this answer here? You should set a goal for yourself because unless you have a goal, you will not achieve anything but just go on aimlessly without an objective, right? It is in the first paragraph. Okay? You will then find that you will finally achieved was not what you wanted or wished. So this is the answer for this question. The second one, what is the first step in setting a goal? What is the first step? Is the first step in setting a goal, according to the passages, identifying what you want to achieve and what means you plan to fulfill your objective. So that can be found in the second paragraph, right? So likewise, you can answer the rest of the questions. The section B, pick out the words from the passage which means the same as the following. Now, examine and consider one's own thoughts and feelings. So this is the meaning. So you need to find the words that means this. So what is that? So examine and consider one's own thoughts and feelings. So where did we find that kind of meaning? If you see, the word assess means examine and consider one's own thoughts and feelings, right? So that is the answer that we need to write. The second one, fearful of doing something. Where did such kind of a meaning come in the reading comprehension? It's in the second paragraph. There you can see, don't be apprehensive about aiming for goal, which means you are fearful of doing something. So don't be fearful of doing something. Now, third one, feeling extremely unhappy. What do you feel when you are very unhappy? How do you express that in a single word? That is, if you see the fourth paragraph, you can see, if you are unable to fulfill your goals, in spite of striving hard, you may feel downcast and miserable. Miserable means feeling extremely unhappy. Now, the fourth one, determination to do something in spite of difficulties. So that is what? Perseverance. You can find that word in the last sentence of the last paragraph. So you can submit the answers. So this is how you do the reading comprehension. Alright? Now we have come to the end of the class. So please write down the answers in your notebook and submit them along with your assignments. It was good to share the class with you all. Let us meet in the next class and explore more. Till then, adios.